11 months post-op. Shit stresses me out and it's depressing. Paid to have nice hair and it's worse than when I started. Any advice would be very much appreciated as I'm not sure what to do. I keep my hair buzzed because as soon as I start to grow it out a little, it looks horrible, I think. Hair's growing different directions, a natural looking hairline, different color hair, basically looks like a barcode on my forehead. Guys, in this video, I'm gonna be reacting to this gentleman who supposedly got a bad hair transplant. We will be looking at it, of course. I will be sharing with you what I would do in his situation and what would be the ideal solution in my opinion. So make sure you stay tuned. And as always, before we start, shout out to our sponsor, GoFiber. These are hair building fibers you can use to mask any thinning or patchy areas on your scalp to make your hair look thicker and better. So make sure you check out the link in the video description below where you can visit GoFiber, get a free sample of your choice and try them out. See if you like them. The first thing I actually noticed was that the hair looks a little bit better when he's taking pictures with a flash. However, when the pictures are not being taken with flash, like for example here, you definitely see that it's not looking nice. So what were the things that happened wrong right here? Now, let me start with the thing that the patient didn't do ideal before his surgery, and it will be not being on medication. And although he said that he actually used minoxidil for like 11 months or so, he did never take finasteride or any 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. And we know that especially taking these types of DHT blockers can help a diffuse thinner like this guy is to thicken his hair that is already kind of miniaturized, but we see that the density on the existing hair is still pretty high, but the degree of miniaturization is already intermediate to maybe advanced on some areas. So that could have been saved and the appearance would look a little bit more homogeneous, especially here where the existing hair meets the transplanted hair zone. The transition wouldn't look so abrupt. So that's the first thing. Now this, what I'm gonna say you here, is maybe a result of him not being on medication, but also maybe the doctor's mistake. You see this area here, it's looking like a gap between the existing hair right here on the temple and the transplanted hair here. Now it's looking very, not very flowy. There's also this bald patch right here. Doesn't look the best. Could be a mixture of him not being on medication and the doctor not being able to kind of transplant the grafts all the way to the edge of the existing hair zone. Here it's looking even more obvious, as you can see here. Another issue I'm seeing is here, the patchy growth, and this is already 11 months after the operation, so it's unlikely for it to grow in. So this is looking very patchy, and unfortunately that could be a result of improper manipulation with the grafts while they were outside of the body, or maybe improper placement technique, or maybe some of these grafts were already partially damaged when extracting those, but not as likely as these two reasons I mentioned before. Alright, and now let me share with you the two technical mistakes that are present in the whole hairline that the doctor actually messed up quite a bit here, and it's really unfortunate. This guy actually went to Canada to have it done, so it means he didn't pay a little bit of money for this. Unfortunately, he paid quite a bit. By the way, this guy went to Canada to have it done to a clinic I don't want to name, but if you want to find out who that doctor was, check out the link in the video description where I linked the Reddit post and he mentioned also his name. So let me share these two main technical mistakes that the doctor did here. So you can see how the transplanted hair is abruptly kind of changing angle to the left, okay? It's almost like 90-degree difference compared to the existing hair that is growing here like naturally like that. You can see it. And then you have the transplanted hair that starts abruptly changing the angle this way. So it's very unnatural. It disrupts the flow. It disrupts the homogeneous look between the existing and transplanted hair. Let's say the guy would have even healthy hair all the way here and he will be on finasteride. It would look super thick. Even then, this mistake would be an issue if you get like that hair implanted all the way to the different direction. It's like your hair is growing north and then suddenly the transplanted hair starts growing east like that way. That's unacceptable pretty much, especially if you're paying so much money to have it done in a country, in the Western world country. The high angle issue is still an issue even by the doctors, again, who are from Western world countries. You got to be careful still. Just because you're paying more money, you're having it done in your home country, like this guy maybe thought, oh, I'm gonna go to Canada, I'm gonna have it done there, you know, it's not gonna look the best. If you're not gonna do your research properly, filter out the clinics properly, and land at the really suitable doctor. And for that, please check out this video here that I made like 2 weeks ago, is how to find the perfect hair transplant clinic for you, no matter where you are in the world, with my 4-step hair clinic elimination method. I highly advise you to check it out. Now back to the problem of high angles. You see, these transplanted hairs are growing like very high up. They're going up, they're growing up like that. And then you see the existing hair behind is growing a little bit tighter, you know, more like in a maybe 20-degree angle, as it normally should grow out, you know, on the frontal zone. But then you see the blue lines, you know, the blue markings. It seems like that hair that is marked with blue is growing definitely higher angle than 20 degrees. It could be close to 30 or even 35 on some areas. That's definitely, again, disrupting the homogeneous look. And even if the guy, like, let's say he dyes that hair the same, you know, color, like black or dark brown, it's still not gonna look nice when he styles. And he actually really complained about when he's gonna grow out that transplanted hair longer, it's looking even worse because of these high angles and bad directions. And trust me, yeah, that's the case, because if you start growing it out longer, you think it's going to cover it up and camouflage it, but oftentimes you can be wrong, because literally if the hair is growing so many different directions, it's really going to look like a mess. You can also see how these angles are changing everywhere. They're growing differently, like these strands do not have like a homogeneous direction, but they're kind of growing through one another. It's like going pretty much all over the place, okay? It's like very bad placement technique. All right, now here's my advice. Get on medication, that's the first thing, because you're gonna decrease the contrast between the existing hair and transplanted hair. It's gonna look more fuller without abrupt looking transition. The other thing would be, let that transplanted hair and existing hair grow longer, at least 5, 6, 7 centimeters, to see which areas are the most problematic. You know, how do you want to style that hair? To the side, slick it back, I don't know. Based on that, you need to determine how it's looking first, and all these areas that are making it look especially bad, you know, due to bad angles, high angles, bad directions, all these hairs need to be removed. Depends on which hairs will be removed. You can use either the surgical removal with the FUE punch, with the manual method. That's something, believe me or not, I have done as well, because I had also some weird hairs growing on my frontotemporal transition from my first hair transplant that I had removed because they were causing troubles during styling it. And these were just couple, like 100 or something. But this guy, we're talking about several hundreds of grafts that will need to be removed. In my opinion, this guy will have to use a surgical removal for the best possible result, assuming he wants to keep his hair. If he doesn't want to keep his hair, he might as well just use electrolysis, like the laser removal for all that area, and just shave his head and be fine, you know. But assuming he wants to keep his hair, I think he will need to have some, more extensive graft removal on all of these areas, probably. The good thing about the graft removal surgically from all these areas is that you can actually reuse those grafts from all of these areas, and once they will be removed from these zones, they can be immediately placed right here in these areas where there are some gaps, to cover them in, and they will be placed in the ideal angle and ideal direction. So that's something that you are getting. Now, that will be the first session. The second session, obviously, you will end up with thinner looking areas here because you got that graft removal. So during the second session, the doctor will place new follicles inside of these zones one more time. So you need at least 2 sessions. and then you can start growing that hair out and have a nice hairstyle. So that's something that I would recommend, assuming you want to keep your hair. If not, again, you can just use electrolysis for the whole area and just laser it out. Even these lasers are not 100% effective for destroying all of your follicles at once, because obviously some follicles are double, triple, quadruple grafts producing 4 follicles. So here you can see the area where I had also like very high angles and bad directions. It was actually on my left temple, frontotemporal transition. So these grafts were also growing out very high. It was very hard to style them, honestly. So I was just leaving them out randomly, never styling them, just letting them grow a little bit and trimming them strategically. So that was my issue. Fortunately, only a minor issue compared to this guy. And this is how these grafts had to be removed. They literally drilled new punches inside of my skin on the scalp, on the frontotemporal transition, and they removed them. They were able to reuse them and place these extracted follicles like in the mid scalp to add more coverage, but that's how it can look like. It's gonna heal after about 10 to 14 days. You apply some lotion on it, and then you wait about a month or 2 until you can start placing new hairs on this surface. Okay, so that's how it usually goes. You can check out also my video that I made on my repair story. It was very minor compared to this guy, where this guy will unfortunately need, but that's possible. That's how I did it. And all the other details or the rest will definitely need to be consulted with this guy during the consultation with a doctor, like how to proceed, how many steps will this whole hair transplant correction have. Now, for all of you guys who are interested in me helping you out with finding the right clinic, right doctor, no matter where you are in the world, you want to avoid all the pitfalls usually guys fall into during the time they're trying to find a perfect or suitable clinic for them. Make sure to check out the link in the video description below, where you can learn more about how I can help you out one-on-one with my consulting service. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna be seeing you soon again in another video. Take care.